Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts. Leicester Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Are you ready? I'm saying, are you ready?
Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome along. Excuse me laughing here. I can see what's going on in the green room. You couldn't. And I'll tell you what. Anybody remember Pan's People and Legs and Co? It was up there with it. Good evening. It's Leicester Till I Die TV. How the devil are you? I tell you what, if nothing else, it put a smile on my face. I have to thank the Man City fan for that. Yes, it wasn't the best weekend, was it, football-wise? Leicester City 0, Manchester City 1. It seemed to be our regular beating. But how did you see the game? Defensive masterclass? Parking the bus? Could we have got something? You know, we managed to hit them on the break a few times. Was it offside? I'd probably have to say it was one of those toenail jobs, but you know, it saved us against Norwich. It wasn't going to save us against Man City. We are available on YouTube, Leicester Till I Die TV. Please get over there. If you're not, tweet my buttons, pull my knobs, subscribe, and do everything. You know I enjoy it. Facebook, Leicester Till I Die, the group. Twitter, at Leicester TID. We are on tonight with the opposition show. We're going to find out what Man City think. Well, if he ever stops dancing.
Opposition show with Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV.
Taking a look back at the game.
So let's bring my first guest in and say good evening to Ray, Man City fans. Hey, putting down some good moves there you were, Ray.
We got 3 points more than you. We got 3 points more than you. Had a good weekend, mate.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll just say something here. Your dancing is probably better than your singing. That's all I'm going to say on that one. I've been better. You didn't do a. How can I put this? An Arsenal on us. You only conceded the one. It could have been a draw. I think a draw maybe would have been a fair result. But I think you're probably going to argue with me on that one.
Of course.
But I need some support, so let's bring in, this guy, Scott. Good evening, Scott.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Ray. Both okay?
Yeah.
Let me just. I'm just going to move Ray down there. There we go. I wouldn't say he's got a big forehead, but the Man City logo covered it. We're going to have two different views. Let's just get some early comments in. Matthew, good evening, Matthew. How the devil are you, sir? I hope you're well. Whereabouts are you? Are you traveling again today? David, hi there, Chris. Glad to see you doing well. Thank you, David. You too. Nippon, a Chelsea fan. Good evening, Nippon. How the devil are you? And yes, how the devil am I? Yeah. Do I say that a lot? Apparently I am. It's becoming my catchphrase. Good game, as they say. Big up the panel. Facebook user, good evening. Not sure who you are. Let's come to Scott first of all. Should we have got a point?
I think when you look at things, no, not to be honest. I think there were too many players that unfortunately let us down through the whole 90 minutes. I think we were unlucky with the Vardy offside, but I still don't think that we deserved a point out of it, to be honest.
I mean, Ray, you were throwing at one point the kitchen sink at us. I mean, I was watching it and listening to it, and it was like, Custer's last stand at some point. We were throwing bodies and everything in there. Yeah, it was a lucky deflection for the goal. Poor Soyuncu.
Oh, man. You didn't big him up. What's the opposite of bigging somebody up before the game? You said he just needs a break. Everything's going wrong for him, and, it so happened again. A bad break for Soyuncu.
Yes, it was. I mean, to be honest with you, I can't blame the guy for a deflection. Yeah, probably that's taking it a bit too far. But I mean, I was listening to it, and I think when you look at probably 5 of our best players on the pitch with the goalkeeper and the 4 defenders, that kind of says something about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say I looked at the stats today, and we had 25 shots to your 8. I mean, you'd expect City to be dominant, have the possession there, 60% possession to your 40. I mean, when you talk about it could have been a draw, and yes, I think you had 2 good chances that the Barnes header that hit the bar, and obviously we'll talk about the offside Vardy goal. Miles off, mate, miles off. But when you look at the expected goals, I mean, Leicester were well under 1. I looked at a couple of different expected goals, and on both of them you were under 1, and City were almost 3. So it kind of shows the level of or the quality of the chances that City had, and the number of the chances, the quality and quantity of the chances that City should have got on the expected goals, about 3 goals. So it's I think. Score is probably reasonable at the end of the day. If you scored 1, we should have scored 3. How about
that? I mean, I will admit at some point, like I say, I was thinking how many is this going to turn into? And I think 1-0 at the end wasn't too bad. But we know, don't we, Scott? And I'm one here that actually sort of usually likes to quote stats, and we will come on to stats later, but playing devil's advocate for once, we know that possession isn't everything. We won the league with very, one of the lowest possessions of any team that season. And I don't know if you saw the game, Scott, but when Wolves played Man United, Wolves were all over Man United. They were having shots from everywhere, but they didn't score. And Man United went up at the end and got the one stat that mattered, the goal. So had that goal from Vardy gone in, I think it probably would have been a different game.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the Man United versus Wolves match, unfortunately. But like you say, with with Vardy in the offside and that sort of thing, it's a case of, goals do change games. And I do find, especially with Leicester, that they have a tendency to sort of kick on, especially in tight affairs like against your Man Cities, your Liverpools, and things like that. They're the sort of teams that Leicester do tend to sort of come out a lot better off once they do get a goal.
And I must admit, I mean, if we look at and say quote the stats here, Ray, we've played 20 times, not including the weekend. You'd won 7. We'd won 7, so you won 11. It is one of those games that we kind of beforehand we were talking about. Well, if we lose it, it's Man City. Do you look at Leicester and think, wow, it's Leicester we're going to beat them this time?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I can, off the top of my head, in the last 5 years, just over 5 years, think of 3 times you beat us. That 4-1 a few years back, the 5-2 last season, the Community Shield now. So there's 3. And
sorry to correct you, the English Super Cup.
Sorry, the English World Championships. That's the one, isn't it?
Hey, we won it,
But, if you think we probably played in that time 12 or 13 times in 5 and a bit years, that's 2 league games. That's 10. There's that League Cup. There'll probably be 12 or 13 times, and you've won 3. So you've got for me that's a decent record. It's better than most teams. It's better. It's better than Arsenal's record against City, for instance, in the last 5 years. So it's if you're winning about 1/4 of the games, it's not bad. It's not bad at all.
And we do like to play Man City in a way as you let us play. Vardy always does well against you. He normally manages to score, and we'll come on to that in a second. But you do allow us to play. You seem to play a very high back line, which allows Vardy to play.
They're not going to change. City aren't going to change for Leicester. We're going to keep giving you chances, but City, Pep believes his methods and his strategy and his tactics are going to work. So he's going to keep doing the same old thing and take a risk. We'll take the risk with you guys.
Yeah, and not normally. In fairness, it works off. We spoke about this before when we did the preview, Ray. And Scott, ask you what your thoughts are. Should Scott Carson have been in goal? Should the Brazilian players have been on the pitch?
I think at the end of the day, you just got to look at FIFA, the FA, and let them decide it. Because unfortunately, as fans, we don't really have a say. It's one of those that it's tit for tat. Brazil Football Association clearly wasn't happy with the situation, and it goes on to FIFA and UEFA and all that to sort of settle between themselves. And we just, as fans, you've just got to hope that they don't play, but if they do play, you hope that your players are going to turn up and put them to the sword, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you, didn't I, Ray, that if the roles were reversed, I'd be wanting those players out there. And you do, the end of the day, you pay the wages. It's we have the point. Johnny Evans was called up by Northern Ireland, and we turned around and said, "Well, no, he's injured." And we want him for the dressing room, and we're saying, "Well, no, we want him on the training room." So I get the fact that they played. Would it have been different, do you think, if they hadn't?
Well, Edison made a couple of saves, didn't he? I'm not sure Scott Carson would have made them. You don't know, obviously, unless you're in that situation. And I'm glad Jesus started above Maris. So you don't know if it's going to make a difference. It's just one of those unknowns. But obviously, you prefer to get your best team out.
Yeah. And looking at these stats, Scott, I mean, they're not, they don't make good reading, but, you've got to look at them and say, well, I mean, 25 goal attempts to 6. 60% more possession to 35. The passes were 200 or more. The touches were 200. I don't think that gives the full view of the game, because I think, and I spoke to Craig, he came on the post-match show, who was down at the KP, and he was saying it's probably our best performance of the season. Although we lost, we played better in that game than we did in the win over Wolves or the win over Norwich.
Yeah, definitely. I did find that, especially with the likes of Soyuncu being on the right-hand side of the centre-back pairings, that made a big difference in not only in his confidence, but the way that he seemed to play. He seemed to play a lot better than what he has recently, and I think when you look through the actual team itself, there was a lot of players that, when it comes down to how they've played over the last 3 or 4 games, that they really haven't sort of made anything really happen. Whereas this time round, I did feel that we had things that we could be proud of as fans, but there's still plenty of work that we need to work on, or Brendan for that.
Yeah, and Ray, Brendan said, I thought we deserved something from the game. You have to stay in the game against a team of that quality. I thought we were excellent and created a lot of chances. And I know, like I say, I don't think the stats do give the full impression. We've got Napoli coming up on Thursday in the Europa League. And looking at how we performed, and Scott will probably agree with me here, in last season's Europa League, when we went out to Slavia Prague, we were bloody awful.
Yeah.
Those 2 games, we deserved to go out. We needed something to give us some confidence to go in there. And I could say, I think we, yes, we had to defend. You were coming at us, I could say, like wave after wave. It was like Zulu on a ×10 at times. But we defended well. Some would say maybe parked the bus, but there was questions about our defence. We spoke about Soyuncu sort of again before the game. He was switched over to the right, unlucky with the deflection, but I do think our defence played well.
Yeah, I mean, as we say, if you watch the game or even the highlights, you see your defenders diving everywhere, to stop the ball going in. Brendan Rodgers has got to be positive. Obviously, he's not going to come out and say we were rubbish or we were never in that game. You've got a big game coming up this week, so he's got to be bullish and positive and look for the positives and and that's how I think he's going to operate. He's got to keep the guys feeling confident, motivated, ready for the next game. Put this one to bed and take the positives. Take the positives you can from this game and just roll on to the next. Getting 3 points, anything off City is a bonus. I think that's where most clubs look at it.
Yeah,
it's a bonus you didn't get spanked by 5, because I think that will hurt your confidence.
That would have done, yes. I think you got to agree with that there, Scott. That would have been the last thing we needed going into Europe this season. Dorco says here, I don't know if you'd agree with this at all, Scott. And good evening, Dorco. How the devil are you? I was at the game and I thought that Leicester lacked the belief. Leicester seem to have lost the fearless factor. Do you think we're becoming, and I'll ask you this again straight after Ray, but Scott, first of all, do you think we're almost becoming our own successes causing us problems, in the fact that we've done so well that when we're getting games that we like this or we don't play so well, it's almost like what's happening?
I can see where you're coming from, but I think a lot of it is due to confidence. And when you look at how Soyuncu has been through the Euros, how he started the beginning of the season as well, he seems as if he's a confidence player anyway, and his confidence has been knocked. Maddison had an injury halfway through last season. He come back, didn't seem the same player as before he got injured, and he's another one. He doesn't seem to be hitting the heights that he was sort of just over a year ago. So I think, although we have had great success in the past, 5 years or more, it's still the start of the season and we've still got plenty to play for. I just hope that the team, go out on Thursday and put a performance in that we know what they're capable of.
Do you think we have, Ray, looking from the outside, do you think we've become victims of our own success?
You could say that. I mean, you're setting your benchmark now. You're not a team that's struggling. You're not a team that's middle of the table. You're a team that's gone. And if you look at you went in 2016, okay? The last 5 seasons, you finished 1st, 5th, and 5th. That's a good record, that. I tell you what, Liverpool would have been jealous of that record until recently. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
So you said you moved the bar. You raised the bar, and there is an expectation now. Having said that, we discussed it before. Look, you've won 2, lost 2. It's early in the season now. I wouldn't be worried. I think, as we discussed last week, your next few games, I think your next 6 games are really, really important. That's your Napoli game. That's your game against Millwall, Legia Warsaw, and your 3 league games against Brighton, Burnley, and Palace. And I think you could win each of those games. If you pick up, say, 7 points out of those 3 league games, you get, say, 4, even 6 points from your group stage of the Europa League and beat Millwall. I think you'll say that's a really decent start to the season. You'd have played, 7 games. You'd have got something like 13 or 14 points. I think you'd take that, wouldn't you?
Yes, it's a good point you make, me, Scott. When you look at our season, this is probably one of the easiest starts we've had. West Ham was disappointing because they did that to us twice last year. We should have really sort of, been ready for that. But when you're looking at the teams we've drawn, we need to get a decent start, because if we're not winning these games, then we could struggle later on. And, I have a feeling if we're not 5th or 6th, we're not in the top 4 week in, week out, some fans are going to start moaning.
Unfortunately, that's fans for you. They're very fickle, and, they will tend to look at the negatives more than they will the positives. But like you say, and like Ray says, looking at the games that we've got coming up, Napoli, or however you pronounce it, there will be a hard game to go to. I do believe they could be short of a couple of players, which may play into our hands.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at the likes of Millwall in the cup, should easily beat them, but it's a cup game. You can't take anything for granted on that.
Two words there, Newport County.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I would happily take 7 points for the league games, and then, like Ray says, even if you took 4 points within the Europa League for the first 2 games, we've still got plenty of games to play in that competition.
Yeah. DJ Nick says here, Ray, if Vardy's goal was inside, Man City would have pushed on, lining up perfect for the counter-attacking, so it could have been a different result on another day. But goals do that, don't they?
Look, funny thing is, goals change the direction of matches.
Yeah.
City have I say they have a problem when they go behind in coming back. The longer it goes on, the less likely City to score. If we hit back quickly, then we get back on an even keel, and then I think we can go ahead and beat teams. But it's getting that early goal, and I always think back to that deciding game for the formidable season from 18-19 when City went behind against Brighton last game of the season, needed to win the league above Liverpool on goal difference, I think it was, or by one point, sorry, and we went behind. And you start worrying, but we scored within 2 minutes or something, and then we just crushed them. And so that's the thing. If Vardy scores, I think we start to struggle. Like you say, we'll push up, we'll start taking risks, and that's just what Vardy wants. Vardy wants to be pushing up, taking risks. So look, if it's millimeters or inches, and that's what kept him took him offside. It is what it is. It's fine margins.
It is. I mean, it was supposed to be changed this season, but look, VAR is VAR. We're stuck with it. We used to always moan about the referees, didn't we? And now we're moaning about VAR. It's one thing under. But Brookline from America again. How the devil are you, Brookline? Thanks for joining us. Get Ray's thoughts on this. Man City seem to have scored many goals this season by banging the ball hard into the box and playing for the rebound. Jesus has done this in the prior games. Do you think this is a tactic you were practicing in training?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure about banging the ball in the box. We put him. I think Jesus playing on the right because he's, I do believe, right-footed, and Mahrez is left-footed. Mahrez is always cutting back, and so the ball is not coming in quickly. And I've been wanting. I want Sterling to be given a go back on the right. I'm happy Jesus is there. He gets the ball, and I can't remember which game it was. It might have been the Norwich game. As soon as he gets it, bang, he'll have one touch, put it in. He might try and have a couple of touches then cross, but he's putting early crosses in. And I think that's really important. Before defenders get a chance to set themselves, he'll put that ball in and hopefully someone will do the business. And once you put it in the 6-yard area, if you keep it away from the keeper, I think anything can happen. And you see, and it generally does. So keep those early balls coming in, and whether we're playing false 9 or a real 9, I don't think we could tell the difference with Ferran Torres. But just keep the balls coming in. I think for me, I mean, Grealish on the other side, he hangs on to that ball too much. Grealish, it's his nature to want to make things happen. So he's not like Jesus. Jesus has the ball passed out. He runs onto it, crosses it first time, or takes one touch, crosses it. Vardy gets the ball and he wants to create some magic. He wants it to be about him. I think that's the big difference. Jesus is selfless. He wants to put that ball and let somebody else score, create the chance. But Grealish wants to do some trickery and either score himself or then lay it on for somebody else. But he wants to do that bit of magic, whereas Jesus is more, without being disrespectful, more of a workhorse. Just he does what he needs to do. Whereas Grealish is a bit of a show pony.
I mean, Torres, I want to come on to him in a second separately, but Josh on Facebook here. Josh, again, how the devil are you? Welcome along, sir. Scott, he says Brendan is going to focus on trying to win the Europa League. He's never got past that round that we got, I think round of 16 or 32 that we got to last season. The top 4 looks nailed on. And for me, I mean, Man City, you're going to be there or thereabouts. Chelsea have spent. Man United have got to win something for Ollie this season after the players they've signed. Otherwise, I think he could be sort of down the old job centre. And Liverpool, it's just they're going to be there or thereabouts. So the top 4, it does look pretty much nailed on. And it's going to be the hardest it has been for a long time, says Josh, with teams investing heavily. Top 8 and a good crack at Europa would be a great season in my eyes. Agree, Scott?
Well, yeah. It's one of those that I don't think Brendan or the coaching staff are actually going to be prioritising Europa League per se. I think as a team, as players, and as a squad themselves, everyone's going to want to play. Everyone's going to want to compete, and they're all going to want to do well in whatever competition that they're in. That's why Brendan came out with, I believe at the end of the season, just before the transfer window opened up, that he wanted to bring in winners. Well, why try and bring in winners if you're not prepared to try and win various competitions? So I think just trying to put all your eggs in one basket is kamikaze. We could retain the FA Cup. We could go and get the League Cup. There's plenty of opportunities for us as a squad, as a club, for us to, do really well in this season. But I do think top 8, is achievable.
Yes. I mean, I wonder, Ray, top five. Everybody says we're going to finish fifth again. Looking at I mean, I know it's early days yet, but this time last season we were in the top four. We were in there all season, barring when it counted, which was the last day. We're ninth at the moment, but it is early days, isn't it? And I think I said, it's where we've set the bar before. You have got the top four: United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City. Those are going to be the four that are going to be.
Probably.
It's kind of Scottish football, in a way, with Rangers and Celtic. But it is what it is. Brighton, in no disrespect to Brighton, probably aren't going to be up there in fifth come the end of the season.
But if you're only scoring 5 goals in 4 games, there's no way you're going to stay up there.
No. And Tottenham, I mean, they had their 2 weeks at the top thanks to the international break. But aside from ourselves, you've got to think like West Ham. They're doing it again, and I thought they sort of were punching above the weight last season. Everton got a good manager in now. Villa have done very well. So there's a lot of clubs that are actually looking at Leicester and going, we're going to get fifth off you.
Look at this. I mean, let's say the top 4 are the top 4, okay, for argument's sake. You look at the goal. For instance, you look at the goals against. Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City have let 1 goal in 4 games. United have let 3 in, so they're not going to give too much away. You're right. No. Brighton I expect to fall away, but you got a batch there. You got Tottenham, West Ham, Everton, and Leicester. And I think it'll come out of those 4 will probably be the next 4 in the table. I can't see Arsenal picking up and catching up. I mean, look, Everton are playing tonight. They could go top. So, a good win and they go top. So, it looks like it's going to be a proper tight season for top 4 and for the European spots as well. And a few teams are going to be a little bit disappointed.
Of course, which is nice. We want it to be tight. We sometimes you can get the fifth the fight for fifth place can be more exciting than the title. But I think it's going to be a bit harder for you this season to win it. But personally, I do see you or Chelsea will be there or there. It's going to be one of you two. I believe.
I don't know. I mean, the team that's in the best form, if you include the end of last season, is Liverpool. They've got the most points. Because they won 9 out of the last 10 games last season or whatever it was. Chelsea do look good. They look very good. I was hearing a stat. Since Tuchel's taken over, Chelsea have kept the most clean sheets. If you're going to keep clean sheets, you're not going to lose too many games. So, so that's interesting stats. United, stuff them. I don't think they'll do it. I think Ollie will be gone in the summer. I think they're relying on stars. A bit of the Galactico model. If you look at who they brought in, Varane, Sancho, and Ronaldo. So in the summer, so I think they'll be up there. I think it'll be tough for anybody to take them on. You guys, look, I still think if you finish fifth again. And if I was a Leicester fan, I'd still take that. I'd say, we're the best of the rest. We don't spend as much money, and it's right now it's as much as we can hope for. But it's also, I think this is really important. It's showing consistency. It's giving you that base where you're doing it season in, season out, and then you will get that odd season where someone will have a bad season, and you say, right, that fourth is ours now. So, and it'll give you a chance, and it'll give you the money from Champions League instead of Europa League, and and you never know. I think you just got to stay there and bide your time. Your chance will come. You'll have another good season, or a little bit better than Look at the last 2 seasons. One more win would have got you fourth, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it's fine margins, and maybe this season it might be in your favour and against somebody else, and then you're back in the Champions League, and then. It's one of these, as I said, you get the extra money, and that maybe gets you 1 or 2 good players that you really want that you couldn't have afforded. So all these little things, but you've got that base now, 2 fifth place finishes, and you got to make sure you've got that platform, and in the future you either stay there or you step ahead.
It's a good point, isn't it, Scott? And let's be honest, go back 10 years, and we couldn't have dreamed of a couple of fifth places, an FA Cup win, could we? For us, fifth, sixth, it's great news.
I tell you what, it's just been unbelievable. Ever since the owners have came in, it's just been such a great journey to be on, and huge credit to the owners and all the staff that have been behind the scenes. But like you say, as a Leicester fan, to be achieving fifth place 2 seasons in a row, couple of seasons before that, winning the league, you'd have never imagined it. So, it's awesome. Just hope it continues, really.
Oh, we hope so much. Ray, just before I let you go, I mean, who was your player of the match for Manchester City? I mean, and the reason I'm asking that is because on the preview show I do with Craig, he always picks out one to watch. So one from the opposition that he thinks, right, and he did say it was very difficult with Man City just to pick one. But he went for Mr. Torres. He's got to start performing soon, hasn't he? Or are you happy with him?
It's difficult. I mean, sometimes you see a player, you see them playing, and they have a good game. You think, yeah, maybe he can make it, and then they have a game where they're not involved that much, and then you start worrying. Look, he's had some cracking games. For Spain, he scored a hat-trick against Germany. All right, not the strongest Germany side, but hat-trick in international football against Germany is still good news. And he'll have bits and pieces where he'll do really well. But if we give him the chance, it's up to City to give him the chances. If you don't give him the chances, it's very difficult for him to score. I don't think he creates too much himself. He's the guy. He's there to finish. You put him through. I think he's a good finisher. What I like about him, I compare him to someone like Raheem or even Mahrez and some of the others. Some of the others, when they get a one-on-one, they just leather the ball. They just hit it and rely on luck, to be honest. Whereas Torres, he's actually passing it past the keeper. He's trying to score, not just hit it hard and hope for the best. And I think he very rarely hits it at the keeper. So I like his finishing. He's, 22 years old, 21, 22? I think he's 21. He's got loads of time. He needs the experience, and he's lucky that we didn't get Kane because he's getting that extra experience. It'll be interesting to see next week when KDB's fit, what we do. Do we push, move it around and just Ferran Torres drop out? When Foden's back, what do we do? How do we squeeze Foden in? So it's tough decisions for Pep to make, but that's why he's paid the big money. That's why he's the big cheese to make those decisions. But for me, I'll move on to who I thought was City's player was Bernardo Silva. He scored the goal, right place at the right time. Okay, you can argue that. But, he's twinkled toes. He put some good runs in, some good dribbles, some good crosses. He's what I like about him is his energy. He just doesn't stop. There was a stat a couple of seasons ago. He was running like miles more than anybody else. And he just doesn't stop running. And, and the good thing is, even though he wants to leave for personal reasons, he still puts in a shift and he still puts in good performances. And I think he's a cracking player. And, I don't want him to go because I think when KDB's not around, quite a few players actually step up, and he's one of them.
He is actually on the BBC website. He is not only your player of the man of the match. He's actually the man of the match overall. And it's funny to think that had you signed Kane, that it might well have been him that made way.
Yeah, the rumor is that City needed to sell. When they were looking at Ronaldo, one of the reasons why people are saying the Ronaldo deal didn't happen. Because when City were negotiating, they still had to let somebody go. And they couldn't sort that out because people haven't got the money. And that's why the Ronaldo deal was taking a while. And that's what allowed Man United to nip in. And, City wanted him for free. United said, no, Juventus, we'll pay you some money. And Mr. Ronaldo, you want $500,000 a week? No problem. Yeah. Whereas City were negotiating, like you should do. and saying, Juventus, we're not going to give you a penny, and Ronaldo, we're not going to give you that much. We'll give you a good amount, but not that much. So, one person had to go. It would have been Silva, but no one's got the money. Mahrez can stick his role. Mahrez's problem, Brookline's come up with that, is he had 2 games at the start of the season to perform okay against difficult teams, you could argue, or the 2 toughest games we've had this season, and that's Spurs and Leicester. And he didn't perform. Jesus, okay, you can argue again, he's been lucky. He came in against Norwich, got a couple of assists, and there was an own goal from one of his crosses. He ends up keeping that spot. Next game against Arsenal, okay, you could argue another bottom of the table team, but Jesus has done the job. So Mahrez has got no one to blame except himself. He had 2 chances, he blew them. Jesus has stepped in, had 2 chances, he stuck them, and now I think Jesus will be there for a while. The interesting thing is going to be who's going to play on the left. Is it going to be Foden or is it Grealish?
£100 million, can you afford to drop Grealish? But yeah, and we know, Scott will nod away. We know sort of the moody Mahrez that you can the side of him. I'm going to let you go because we're going to talk a lot now about Leicester. So, Ray, well done on the 3 points. We get the trophy. You get the 3 points. And yes, it is a trophy. It's silverware and it counts. Had we lost, it would have been a pre-season friendly. I'm not denying that at all.
Mate, I hope you guys enjoy your wallowing tonight.
Hey, we live in the past. We live in the fact that we beat.
Live in the future, man. Look at the next 6 or 7 games. Live in the future and say, right, we're going to do you. We're going to do you. We're going to do you. We might get a draw there. We're going to do you. And in a month's time, we'll be up about 6 in the table, 5th or 6th, through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. Look like we're qualifying for the Europa League and knockout stages. Look positive.
Brilliant. As always, Ray, it's great to have you on. We'll probably chat when we'll probably meet in the semi-final of some cup competition. We always seem to, and later in the game. But thanks very much for coming on. Well done for Saturday.
Take care, Ray.
Cheers, guys. And we'll speak soon.
Guys.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, I can pull my chair back up now. I need to redesign my graphics. Patrick says here, Man City fan, Scott. Leicester City scare him, and I think we did. For me, when we broke, we did have them worried, and Edison had made some good saves for them. He was their third-rated player. Lookman looks like the real deal. He could have had a couple at the end, and I can't blame the guy because he's only literally just, it was his first minutes on the pitch for Leicester. But he looks the deal, doesn't he, as Patrick said?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said to you at the start of the show, there were players that did seem to step up. And, going against Man City, it's one of those that you do or die sort of situations. Mm-hmm. But Lookman looked absolutely unreal. I can't wait to see him carry on playing in a Leicester shirt. But yeah, there are players that we have got that have got quality within the squad, and it's just all about getting the best out of them.
And the problem I think we've got now, Scott, is the fact that we've been screaming for years. We've not got the squad depth. We want more players. We need more players. Now we have got that squad depth. Is choosing between them. I mean, Patrick, again, Brookline, you've got a good question there. I'm going to come to it in a second. Why is Patson Daka not playing? And the question you've got to say is, who do you drop for Patson Daka? Because it's Vardy, and can we afford to drop Vardy? And the problem is when you bring these players in, unless you're bringing in a Ronaldo, a Lukaku, or a £100 million player like Grealish, you can't just drop the players that have got you to where they are because it just demoralises the morale within the camp. You've got to wait for these players to start playing badly or another competition like the Europa League, like the Carabao Cup, for them to play in.
I see what you're saying, Chris, but in all honesty, I think the only player for me that up until playing against Man City was a player that needed dropping, and that would have been Madison. And I still stand by it now.
I knew you were going to say that, so I just thought I'd bring that comment up just to tie in with that.
It's just been so lackadaisy compared to how he was last season. And I get that he's had an injury. I get that, sometimes it does take a process for players to get match fit. And yeah, it just seems to have had too much time playing now. I think now would be the time for him to sort of take a step back, even if it means chuck him in the Europa League and in the cup competitions to give him the game time and get the confidence back and things like that, rather than play him in the Premier League. Because in all honesty, like some of the viewers have stated, why can't Patson Daka play? Why can't Iniacho play in a 4-4-2 system or something like that? We've got the players now to be able to, change your formations around and play these players. And like everyone who's a Leicester City fan, I'd love to see Patson Daka playing up front with Vardy or Iniacho Daka, whatever the formation may be. There's plenty of players there now that we need to start rotating the squad with the amount of games that we've got coming up thick and fast in various different competitions.
Yeah, you're quite right there, and I got annoyed because I mean, Patrick again says here, ex-Man City player, Kelechi was the man, now bench. Well, I don't think Madison wanted to leave. I mean, it was a lot in the paper that he's never actually come out, and his agent has not come out. There was never any talk that he wanted to leave. It was all sort of press speculation. You believe that or you don't. But yet, Kelechi was doing so well at the end of last season, and we've got Barnes, and I think he's been dropped because we've tried to accommodate Harvey Barnes coming back into the side. Because remember, when Kelechi was doing well, Barnes and Maddison were both out, so that's why he went for the two up front. But it worked for us, apart from maybe Newcastle and Tottenham on the last day. It was, and he was obviously our top scorer last season. But I know, I forget who it was that said Brendan very much likes what goes on the training field, and this is why probably Perez gets so much time, because his attitude on the training pitch is correct. And that was the problem probably with Damari Gray. He had a bad attitude. Now, what you could say different reasons why, and he's doing well now at Everton, and it's a different manager. He just gets on with him better, but you can't play your games on how people, their attitude on the training period. They've got to start putting the performances in. And yet, I think we need to take Maddison out. Definitely give him a bit of a bench. Bench. We know he can produce the goods. Look at the goal he scored against Man City last season. He can be a game changer. Well, in that case, bring him on at the end.
I'd love to see what Perez does on the training field. I really would, because he is one of them players that I honestly can't. Don't get me wrong, he is a good workhorse. That's about the only thing that is good about him. He will get about the pitch, he will try and defend and things like that, but he's just easily pushed off the ball. And there's so many faults in his game, it's unreal. But as one of the reviewers has stated about, Brendan seems to pick players that do well at the training ground. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen a few of the videos, and I know Vardy, for example, is sort of a party animal when he's on the training field. He's always having a laugh and a joke and everything like that, and playing games. And every time you watch interviews about him and things like that, it just seems as if he's how can I put it? It's like that drug overdose sort of thing to keep you hyped up and going all the time.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. So I can only imagine Perez fits into that mold sort of thing, as opposed to what he's actually doing on the training ground, i.e., making key passes, making key runs, and various other things. And if that's how Brendan wants to pick his team, then that's up to him, sort of thing. But me personally, I'd love to see both Lookman and Barnes either side on the wings. Playing in a 4-4-2
I think we will
formation.
do, and I think and I know Lookman is very much a left-sided midfielder. That's the role he played for Fulham. But I mean, if you've got one on one side, one on the other, they can interchange because we know Barnes can play on the right. He's right-footed. It's great to confuse the opposition defence if you're swapping those players. I'm trying not to get too excited by Lookman, and I know people were disappointed with him when we signed him because of the other players that we've been linked with. But having just sort of paid out 15 million for a defender that we weren't expected, I honestly think that had an effect on who we could go for. And we know at the end of the day, you've got to remember, we're saying we're going after this player, we're going after this player. We don't know that they might say, I don't actually want to go to Leicester. We forget that. We presume that people just want to come here. But with Lookman, I remember getting excited about Under. He had a couple of good games, and look what happened to it. Look what happened to him. He was over and out after about 5 games. So, but Lookman does, no pun intended, look the business on that game. I want to see the new signings do well, but talking about new signings that did well, I thought Vestergaard was amazing. I get him being taken off because he'd only played 15 minutes for the season, but he was immense, wasn't he, in defence?
He was outstanding, really was, and it was a crying shame to see him go off. I do understand, you've got to nurse the players into full fitness, match fitness, and things like that. But up until that point, he put his heart on his sleeve, and he defended for his life. And he seemed to command the 18-yard box as well with Soyuncu. He seemed to have that calming effect on Soyuncu. So in that, I'm very eager to see what the pairings will be in the next couple of games on not next couple of games, throughout the season, on who Brendan decides who's going to be the centre-back pairings and what formations it is going to play. But Vestergaard did look a solid centre-back for us.
And you mentioned him there, and I'm going to bring him up, but Soyuncu, and I must admit, you kind of forget that he played on the right, and you just think, was that a tactical decision? Well, it obviously was a tactical decision by Brendan Rodgers, because he always plays on the left, and that seems to be where he's comfy. But playing him on the right, and again, I think it was Craig maybe that mentioned this, was saying he had to just concentrate on the basics because he wasn't on his natural side. If he's on his left, he's doing his little Cruyff turns and his Brazilian passes back to Schmeichel, and it scares you and what have you. But on where he was, he had to basically just do the basics, and he did that right. And the deflection for the goal was unlucky. You can't blame any defender for deflection, but I thought it did. Craig had a point there. It did make a difference.
Yeah, I think it did, and I think when you look back at when he played in the Euros, he played on the left side of a centre back pairing, and he was still doing the silly Cruyff turns and knocking it around near the 18-yard box, and it seems to have putting him with Vestergaard seems to have given him a whole new confidence, and I think if I were Brendan now, that's where I would keep him. Whether it's with Vestergaard, whether it's with Evans, I think you need that authority by the side of him. But like I say, I think even Fofana will be paired either side. But I do see Soyuncu with, say, Vestergaard, for example, and Fofana with Evans, so you've got that.
I was going to say,
experience.
it is early days, but when Fofana comes back, who do you play with him?
I think you play Evans. And the reason why I say Evans is Evans is great of a defender that he is. He's not got an awful lot of pace, whereas Fofana's got bags of it. So if we are in trouble or anything like that, at least you can, I won't say rely on Fofana to be able to prevent the goal from happening, but you got a better chance of him being able to get back rather than Soyuncu himself.
Yeah, I touched on a good point. I touched on it earlier about how our sort of 5 best players on the pitch were probably the goalkeeper and the back 4. I know Alan Bennett, who picks our man of the match. I mean, he actually picked Soyuncu as his man of the match, and he did, apart from the unfortunate deflection, have a good game. You could say Schmeichel, who, in fairness, somebody said he costs us the game sometimes with his kick outs. I'm sorry, no, he saves a lot more than he costs us. Had it not been for Schmeichel, I think we could have been looking at an Arsenal score. To be honest with you, he was stopping everything, and Vestergaard as well. It could have been any of those 3, really, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those. It was really hard to try and pick a man of the match performance out of the back 5. But I think you're right in what you say in regards to Schmeichel. It does save a lot more than what he lets in. I think personally, I'd love to see him do what his dad did, and that's just if the ball 90 mile an hour up the top end, up the other end of the pitch, because I think his weakest point is definitely playing out from the back. Other than that, fantastic servant, awesome goalkeeper, and I'm forever thankful that he signed for Leicester.
Of course, yeah. Static, how the devil are you, sir? Good evening. Thanks for joining us. You must be happier. 3 points at last. Arteta for manager of the season. I jest. Thank you, Static. Yeah, thank you very much. We have reached 1,000. And just if anybody wants to, and it's up to yourself. We have reached 1,000. You can, I believe, if you're watching on YouTube, and I hope you are, that you can actually. There's a little button at the bottom with a little S sign in it, as it says at the bottom there, going across the banner. If you'd like to donate to help the channel run. It isn't cheap to run the channel. Well, it can be cheap, but obviously I do all the videos and what have you. So there's cost involved. Just help us out. It would be more than welcome. Arteta still needs to go despite the win. I was getting Arteta ready to. I thought he was going to appear on Pointless. Yeah, I know it's a corny joke, but come on, that's me, corny. We've got these coming up, Scott. We've got Napoli on Thursday, Brighton at the weekend, who are doing all right themselves at the moment. Again, shows that I cannot predict anything in football, because I say West Ham were punching above the weight last season. They're still there. I said Brighton could probably go down this season. They're up there. No, it's early days. Millwall away. I mean, you even for where they are, that is never going to be easy. And then Burnley on the week after that. We're going to see some changes in the team, aren't we?
Yeah, 100%. We need to. Napoli, I suspect, having Danny Ward in goal. Personally, I think he deserves a chance to be able to play at a higher level than what he has been while he's been at Leicester. And Daka needs to be given a run out. There's various other players that, especially within the Europa League, they need to be given games. Brighton, yeah. When you look at how they've performed over the start of the season, that could be a tricky game. I still think we'll get the 3 points, but the right mentality has got to turn up, and the players have got to show willingness to be able to get the 3 points. But we have got games that are achievable in the next couple of fixtures. It's all about squad selection and players being either match fit or ready and up for it, sort of thing.
Is Static says here, Leicester unlucky to lose, in my opinion. I mean, if you look at the stats and the amount of efforts that Man City had, yeah, you can't argue the fact that they won 1-0, and you accept that. But yeah, it could have been different had that goal gone in. Somebody said earlier, and I think we did hurt them, and they got had Carson winning goal. Who knows? But it's all about if, buts, and maybes. This game of football, isn't it? You went for a 1-1.
That's better than what I did. I went for 4-2 to Man City.
Well, I went for 2-1. I was the only one out of me, Steve Walsh, Ian Marshall, Steve Lynich, Jerry Taggart, and Ian Wilson that went for a Leicester win. All the ex-pros that it was going to be a draw or Man City. So, but I can never predict against Leicester. That's my downfall. Dorco says here, sad that we can't even sell all of our tickets so far for Napoli. I just think, to be honest with you, what we've got to, I think, accept is that. Sorry about this, mate, but I've got to put this one up. I think we've got to accept that we've come back from this pandemic and we've not been able to get. How can I say this? We've not been able to get to matches for 18 months. So you should expect to. You would think fans would be rushing to get back, but we've come back to a new normal.
Yeah, I think you've
people
also
haven't got the money. I mean, I had at the start of the pandemic, I had a job. I don't have a job now. I know there's a lot of people, and it's fine. I think to a point, if you live in Leicester, and I'm not decrying the fact that if you lose your job wherever you live, but for example, for me, it's a 7-hour return journey, parking, petrol, food, the season ticket. It's money I haven't got and I can't afford now because I'm not working, and I think we have to accept that.
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to mention before you jumped in about the lack of people, coming back into work, for example, because a lot of people have been sort of getting like 80% of the usual wages, sort of thing, up until being able to return back to work. So everyone's probably low on funds. They're trying to get back to a new normality. So everyone's got to prioritize things. I think getting past sort of Christmas sort of time, you will start seeing the stadiums a lot more fuller, especially in your cup competitions and your Europa League.
Yes. Terry, good evening, Terry. How the devil are you? Only just caught here. Can you start again, please? Welcome to the opposition review. Tonight we're looking now. And excuse me, you've turned up late, Terry. I expect a note from your parents, and none of this. My dog get my telephone cord or anything like that. But I do expect a note off your mother. Static. It's been a year now, so I'm kind of I'm used to not working, shall we say? JB here. What do you expect when we play Albrighton is awful? I'm not saying your opinion is wrong. He had a bad game yesterday. Albrighton always gives 100%. Yes, I think now, a bit like Vardy's going to be because of his age, I think he's going to become a super sub and bring him on. But he didn't have the best of games, in fairness, did he, Scott?
No, he don't get me wrong, Albrighton's never been a player for a lot of pace. But I did feel against Man City, especially as the game was getting nearer to the end, he did start looking as if he was blowing a bit. And unfortunately, it's just one of those where we're still trying to coach players back into match fitness and back to being fully fit. So, one bad performance can be flipping looked at as all right, it's going to happen. Let's look forward to the next one, and hopefully he can pick up his game, sort of thing.
I mean, I can see where JB is coming from. Well, Brighton was awful against Norwich, but didn't get stick because he scored. At the end of the day, how many players get man of the match when they've done nothing, but they've got the goal, But we do at Leicester seem to like to pick on a player for whatever reason. It was Slimani, it was Chilwell. It was Gray. We've always seemed to have a player each season that we like to pick on. But there's certain players that seem to get a free pass. Vardy has a bad game, and it's Jamie Vardy, or Brighton has a bad game, but it's all Brighton. But these players, we know what they can do, and they can change a game, can't they? Or Brighton can put one huge, brilliant cross in, and it be, Vardy, whoever gets on the end of it, and it's changed the game.
Yeah, exactly. I get where you're coming from when it comes to players in the past that have been sort of scapegoats throughout the season. And in some ways, these players haven't met fans, how can I put it, levels in which they expect.
Yeah.
And if the likes of Albrighton, I'm not trying to be funny, but he came for nothing, and since he's joined the team, he's always been able to put in a man of the match performance. So if he has a bad, 2-3 games on the spin sort of thing, then that's when you start looking at him and say, right, okay, is it worth dropping him and bringing someone else in or something like that? You don't tend to go for a player that has had a bad game and say, right, he needs dropping for the next game, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you did that, you disrupt the whole squad.
Yeah, you can't drop a player on one bad game. I agree. I think with Albrighton as well, he could have left. Burnley were allegedly after him. He signed a new contract. The thing is, we've had nobody really. We had Under, but he didn't work out. We've had nobody on that side that can interchange with him. Maybe now Lookman will give us that option, and maybe sort of Albrighton will become the super sub sort of person, and or play in less games. It all depends, of course, how Lookman fits in. But I'm glad he stayed, to be honest with you. Dorco, shame that Vardy had to put in the cross from Harvey Barnes. I'm going to say hello to Miss Melina. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I tell you what, if I could wrap a roundabout up and send it to you, Melina, I would do. And that she knows that. Did you enjoy the video? And before anybody starts saying that, no, it wasn't one of those videos that I sent. I just realized when I said that, what people are going to be thinking. She's 20 something today. Let's not give a lady's age away. But happy birthday. I do hope you are having a good one. David, unless my memory fails me, Albrighton has generally look best coming on as a sub, not as a starter. Yeah, I think he is as well. I think he's that super sub that comes on, gives us that bit of pace that he's still kind of got, and gets those crosses in when the defence is a bit knackered. But like I've just said, who else have we got on that side at the moment? Moving forward, Lookman, dare I say Perez comes back. I don't really want to say that. We don't know. We don't know. Carry on, Scott. Sorry.
I was just saying, he's saying about Perez. He's that player.
Yeah. Yes.
He never seems to turn up whenever he's on the pitch anyway. So it's pointless having him back anyway. But I do take into consideration what the previous person said about Albrighton playing in the second half rather than playing a full game. he does have that tendency to be able to play a lot better if he's only put on the pitch for 30 minutes or so. But unfortunately, with how, especially on the right hand side, we have been short of a couple of players. And you mentioned yourself about Sensing under. He started off fantastically, but what I was led to believe, and I could be wrong in what I say here, but there was speculation going around at the time that it was due to how many games that he played and things like that, on whether we were going to sign him or not. Whether it's due to that, whether it's due to the attitude, who knows? We'll probably never find out. But he was an exciting player, and I would have liked to have seen him play a bit more on the right hand side through last season.
I would. I think that when we've seen his performances for Turkey in the Euros and what have you, I think he just wasn't quite good enough, and it's hard to say a player is bad after one bad game. But then, in fairness, this was me. I was saying how good he was after one game. Okay, it kind of works both ways. JB, I think if we put this to a poll and you're entitled to your opinions, and I respect your opinions, but Perez is a better footballer than Albrighton, and you're not joking. I don't think you would get a lot of people agreeing with you there. But like I say, football is about opinions, and I respect that. Going to round it up now, but Static Ujoa as well. I don't think Ujoa got picked on at all. No, I think Ujoa was well loved, and I think we wish we'd kept him, to be honest with you. I think you're lolling at my singing there, which I suppose it could have been a worse reaction.
I think Ujoa was just unlucky with the lack of games, especially at the start of his period of playing for Leicester, sort of thing. But as he got more games, he seemed to have the confidence, and did seem to sort of gel within the squad, sort of through the remainder of the season, sort of thing. He was just one of those players at the very start. He didn't seem to get the games, and that's why a lot of players, when a lot of fans, when he did come in as a substitute or start games, a lot of players were getting on at him because he wasn't the Jamie Vardy, and he wasn't, this, that, and the other striker, sort of thing.
Yeah. JB, I think we all like Berardi, and I think Berardi would have been the one that we wanted. And maybe by getting Lookman in for the season on loan, a bit like under there, if he doesn't perform, maybe we can go back for Berardi. But the problem you've got to think is that these players, there's nothing to say that Berardi wants to come to us. We may have put an offer in for him, and he may have said no. We have to think that way. Yeah, JB, you spelt Static's name wrong. It's Static as. Just think of Arsenal's defence. The Static. you know what his name is. Sorry, Static. Couldn't not say that. Vardy is 34 and on the left ring, white ring in the middle, but not all at the same time. But mate, Scott, thank you so much for coming on.
You're very welcome, pal.
It's been great having you on and your thoughts on this. Big game coming, big week coming up, but we've got Napoli. Would you take a draw at this point?
No, I think you've got to go for the 3 points. I strongly think you've got to go for 3 points to start off the campaign as you wish to go on. Don't get me wrong, I think it's going to be hard. What I've seen of the news in regards to Napoli and their players potentially not being able to play could play into our hands. But, it's one of those, we need the 3 points on Thursday.
Obviously, Napoli are the first seed in the group, so it is going to be the toughest game. Scott, hopefully see you again soon. Thanks very much for coming on, as always. Take care, stay safe, all the best to your family, and we will speak soon.
Cheers, Chris. Thanks for having me on. Take care, buddy.
You're welcome, Scott. Thanks for coming on. Take care. Bye-bye. Scott there, thank him so much for coming on this Opposition View show. Coming up this week, it's going to be a busy 3 weeks, I'm not going to lie. Tomorrow night, it is the prediction show. And then we kind of start to get ready for this.
It's the Europa League with Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV. Please press those buttons on YouTube for more Leicester City content.
We're all going on a European tour. Yes, it's back. It's Europe. It wasn't the Champions League. Wasn't the best singing either. I'm not going to deny it. But we are back in Europe. And let's be honest with you, I'd take the conference. As long as we're playing in Europe, that's what we need. That is what Leicester, I mean, you know, it's a good season. We're in Europe. We should get out of the group. If we finish third, we drop into the conference. So Tuesday, tomorrow, it's the prediction show, and we've got a Spurs fan on. We're keeping that London connection going. We didn't have a very good weekend predicting the results this weekend, so let's hope we can do a little bit better. Wednesday, it's the preview show when we've got a Napoli fan coming on, all the way from Fulham. But he's a Napoli fan, so he's coming on. He's going to do the preview show with us, and Craig will be joining us as well. And then obviously we've got the post-match show. Josh is back. Yes, he's married. He's settled in. He's coming back for the post-match show on Thursday. Well, again, my thanks to Scott. Thanks for all you guys that were in the chat joining in. All you non-Leicester fans as well. Let's just, Static, thanks for popping on. I hope you're well, mate, and things are going well for you. Dorcote, thanks very much as well. JB, I'd say Berardi, let's hope so, fingers crossed. Terry Fuller, Terry, just get here on time next time. Have you liked the channel, Terry? Have you subscribed to the channel on YouTube? Set yourself a reminder. Press that little bell button. No excuse. Next time you're late, it'll be an early night, up to bed, no supper. So thanks to Melina. Happy birthday to you again. Thanks for popping on. And David S., thanks for joining us. Brookline from America. Always great to see you, mate. Thanks for coming on as well. Bcrom and Patrick, the Man City fan. Thank you all. It does help, obviously, when you come on and add your comments on. Thank you for them all. I'll see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, with Brad and with Simon, the Spurs fan, who are no longer top. Who knew? Good night.
Hello, Matt Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all them social media platforms for all the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
To an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.